Hello, this is Scott Jentz. Welcome to Sandbox Stories.
Hello, and welcome to the Sandbox Story, which is an interview with Dr. Kenji Hamada. Dr. Hamada, thank you for joining Sandbox Stories.
Thank you, Dr. Jantz.
In my view, you're a real institution to our profession. Everyone that meets you feels like you've become one of their very good friends and vice versa. And I'd like to talk about your eye care career, but first I want to talk about your real strong commitment to others. You're enjoying retirement. You've had a tremendous career in optometry. And one of the things you told me is you're supporting Pacific University's College of Optometry's upcoming 75th anniversary. Why do you support your alma mater with your time and efforts?
Well, it is where I started, and I'm grateful that I have joined the university to become one of the supporter of a great institution, which have given me opportunity to where I am today. And so I'm grateful to give something back. What my mother said is share instead of give. Giving back, sharing back what I have. And it's not much, but I do have few, a little bit better than others. So it is my commitment to support a school like that. But also I have also supported the SCCO. I was board of trustee of SCCO by their invitation, and my good friend Dr. Les Walls invited me to join their board of trustees, and so I continue to support them. And furthermore, I also support in schools of optometry in Japan and in Kikuchi and Tokyo College of Optometry, where I came from, my birth, country of Japan as well.
Is this message then that sharing your time or your resources back with your College of Optometry important because the next generation benefits from what you've already benefited from?
Absolutely. I think that there's a brighter future out there, but being involved, as you know, will give you opportunity to open your eyes and horizon and be successful serving our patients in the community and in the industry, just overall.
And you support communities outside of optometry. In Tuscumbia, Alabama, the birthplace of Helen Keller, you've helped an inspirational camp for youngsters with severe vision or hearing impairments. How did you get involved with that?
Well, Helen Keller is like a saint in Japan. Back in 1948, Helen was dispatched, I shouldn't say dispatched, but asked to be an ambassador to Japan, goodwill ambassador to Japan. And she has inspired, not because of her life story, beyond that, is she was very compassionate and inspirational and supportive of Japan, where they were devastated by World War II. And with that in mind, I landed in Tuscumbia by invitation of my good friend way back when there was a AOA Congress in Chicago. Unbeknown to me, I was invited to join them at the pizza, and by a president of AOA's Optometry Care Foundation, Dr. Martha Morrow from Red Bay, Alabama, and her husband, former Alabama House of Representative. And I was briefed where they are where they are from and birthplace of Helen Keller nearby. And he basically asked me that they're struggling to foster and promote the legacy of Helen Keller. And I basically mentioned to them that you need to do something like what the Make-Wish Foundation have done successfully. And if we need to keep the legacy of Helen Keller and inspire those severely visually handicapped and or hearing handicapped youngsters, and they will be like Helen was able to do, and they will carry on and become an important part of our society. And basically, the message was taken back to the board of director of a Helen Keller Foundation, and they basically decided the camp would be a good idea, and embraced that. And I basically replied to them, I like to support. So that was 10 years ago, and it's going very well.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story, and you've been really involved in that community. It must be something. Have you had a chance to be able to see some of those children and interact with them and see the impact?
Absolutely. Yeah. It become a known factor, and not only the community, University of North Alabama Department of Education, School of Education has embraced and joined as a mentor to these youngsters, and as a volunteer as well. And also Lions Club in the North area has also embraced, and they're now sponsoring those kids to from different states, all the way from Wisconsin. Basically, one of the young lady was from sponsored by state of Wisconsin Lions Club, and so yes, and the area has a uniqueness to it. They are very down to earth. I think that they had a hardship in a sharecropper like I was in Japan, and giving a second chance to be successful in U.S. They are survivors. Also, the area has a unique music industry. It is a capital of recording, rock and roll recording music, which I really enjoyed and I always loved. And I have an opportunity to meet the legendary producer of many songs and the music. And also I was able to meet the father of Muscle Show music, Rick Hall. And I was able to help with an organization who were struggling to raise a fund and launch this musical production of a Muscle Show music. And I was able to get the group together and raise sufficient funds to have this successful musical.
I'll tell you what, the community support aspect of what an optometrist can do is one thing, but your community is really the entire country, the United States and Japan. Let's talk about the Kenji story. You were born in Japan in 1946, and then your family moved to Baldwin Park, California in 1960. What was it like to jump into your schooling when you arrived in America?
Well, I was born in 46, immediately after World War II. Okay, so I was 13 years old. My father's business went bankrupt in Japan, and they are forced to restart a business without a funding of a banking support. And it failed, and basically come down to is it was a hardship immigration, but it's illegal, and with a sponsor in the San Joaquin Valley. Now, we didn't see father for 5 years, okay, during that time, because he was contracted for 5 years. Upon that, he was able to secure green card for us. okay, legal immigrants. And then we came 5 years. Now, it was an exciting day for me, not only to see my father for 5 years that I haven't seen, but seeing what Southern California had to offer, basically America had to offer. It was so delightful, eye-opening, wealth, beauty, cars, highway, and etc. And however, that I was enrolled into high school without having any competency in English. I still don't, but I try. I couldn't speak, I couldn't write in English at all. But I was a good student. I always was a good student in Japan, and um, it was a challenge that I had to overcome. There was no Japanese. My parents couldn't speak or write. I had to teach myself to survive. So I had 2 dictionaries, English to Japanese, Japanese to English dictionary. Every night I translate everything that I have been given at the class. And fortunately, I was able to make a good big jump to understand what was going on and had a good grades, except I had 2 blemish in my grades. First year English, C first semester, B second semester, and nothing thereafter.
Those are hardly blemishes.
Well, for me, that I'm used to having, good grades, I guess, all my life, and it was difficult for me to see that C, especially standing, yeah, and looking right at me, except the all A's and C, right?
Yeah. What was it like to have the eyes on you and your upbringing in those teen years as somebody who had moved to the United States from Japan?
You know, I didn't, even though there were, I was given an opportunity, and I seized the opportunity. And if my friends also embraced me because I was unique. I was somewhat outgoing, even though I couldn't speak. I had a smile because I was myope and I couldn't see people. And so 2.5 diopter myope, and so I just smile, and basically they're taken as a positive outlook of life, and I become a good friend of many, and I became a good wrestler, and and that actually did help us well. Yeah.
Yeah, you were a decorated wrestler, and
Well,
go ahead.
well, let's say I was a strong wrestler, muscular. I at the college level, I found out that I didn't have enough flexibility because a muscular bulk was a little
Oh.
bit deterrent to be a good collegiate wrestler. I was competitive, but I wasn't that good.
That's a good explanation too. You went to Pacific University, as we said, and you graduated from there in '72, and then you joined the U.S. Army for a couple of years. What did you do in the Army?
Well, it was interesting. That prior to the graduation, I was accepted to master's in physiological optics, and then my dean and my mentor, PhD from Cal, actually talked and developed my postgraduate program and getting a PhD and become professor. All right. Unfortunately, Vietnam War uh, took me away from a school, and during those 2 years, I decided not to go back because my dean moved to another school instead of at Pacific for a wrong reason. And I'll explain that to you later. But So I did not. Now, 2 years of and I was assigned with a combat um, troop of 104th Airborne, which was my fortune. And another further fortune is I didn't have to go to Vietnam, and they retire in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I was named as a chief optometrist. But in general, I reported to did not know that I couldn't prescribe medication for the combat troops, over 20,000. So he actually arranged me to uh, have a crash course in therapeutics by ophthalmologist, a hospital-based ophthalmologist. And 60 days thereafter, I was able to prescribe medication way back in 1972, remind you.
Wow.
So it was a wonderful experience, and myself and my ophthalmologist friend become my mentor, become a good friend, and he actually regularly took me to a grand round at the Vanderbilt University residency program of ophthalmology as well. So I was very fortunate in the right place in the right time, meeting the right people.
And this led to this incredibly successful practice in Grants Pass, Oregon. What was your practice like? How did it get started? What was it like as it grew?
Well, let me just tell you, first of all, I bought a practice sight unseen. Never been to the city, never seen the practice. I just saw that I reviewed their 3-year tax returns, and I said, well, I can afford it. It's Oregon. I'm going back. And so that was it. Walking into it, I actually recruited my good friend, classmate, to join me, and great guy, and my good steady partner. And both of us looked at it the first time and said, boy, we got a problem. 2 patients a day. How do we keep us busy? And so that's where I went to work. And I'm grateful that he trusted me to do a lot of things that we have done. And the first thing what I have done, excuse me, was find another location where we could keep us, start another satellite clinic and keep us busy. And it turned out to be very successful 30 miles away from where we were. And then involved with the community, I started a wrestling program for the youth that became a model for entire Southern Oregon. And they involved with the local government, local school, and a few other things, Lions Club, and involved with the Lions Club. Once again, my relationship with the Helen Keller comes in there. And become a very successful practice. And then from there, we brought 4 other associates, and the ophthalmologists rotating through ours. And we had a laser center, first one in United States. Before I shouldn't say first one in the United States, but first OD owned laser in our small town. So look at it always looking ahead and beyond the box, and what is a cutting edge? Where is the industry going? What do I want to do? What I would enjoy doing, and etc.
That's a great story. And you also had a strong commitment to organized optometry. You were president of the Oregon Association in 1984, and you were one of the people that helped found GWECO. How did GWECO come to be?
Yeah, it's my good friend and a mentor, Dr. John Rush, was running for board of trustee of AOA. I soon realized, I guess I became his campaign manager and at the AOA Congress. And I recognized that the importance of alliance for him to be elected. And motto of those days, and still even today, is a sequel. And I realized that we need to have a alliance of states on the West Coast, and I recruited many of my friends from association connection on the West Coast, and they embraced the same ideal as I did, and that evolved into that small beginning of a election emphasized or alliance became educational convention of West Coast. Now we have 13 states involved, including California.
And it's had staying power. I was involved many, many years ago with the North Central group,
Right.
and that's really sort of a loose group now, no conference. But Gueco's continued to be strong. I'm sure the pandemic has had its influence, but it's going good for Gueco, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's still going very well. Yes, they had a hiccup because of 1 year of a pandemic, but I think they'll be back as good as they have been because they have 13 states behind, and all the leadership uh, believe in organization that has been very helpful. It also have a unique financial sharing um, program behind it. So they have a commitment for the association in many ways, not on one association, but regionally as well, and also nationally. And so with that in mind, they'll be continue to be successful.
This idea of committing to the profession like you have to the community in so many ways has gotten you some awards. And you're somebody who's not really there to get attention. You prefer not to have a lot of spotlight, and yet you received the AOA Distinguished Service Award. You've been inducted into the National Optometry Hall of Fame. And so your humility is wonderful, and it's what makes you special. How can you use your voice on this meeting and with me to convey a message to today's optometrists to commit to giving back to the profession?
Well, it's basically, first of all, that I never look for the award. Awards come just because. I think that my whole idea is giving back to the profession, which has been good to me and my family as well. And with my humble beginning from nothing to where I am today, I'm eternally grateful. And it's basically come down to sharing what you have. We are fortunate to be a top percent of a financially the wage earner in any community around the country. If we can do to give and share what we have, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be big, you know. And anyway, well, in-kind service would be fine as well. Then who can? And it's important to us to to support the community and therefore.
Yes. And you've also been successful in business beyond the practice. You and I share a background in that we built businesses to serve
It
optometrists.
is. Yeah.
And OOGP was built to serve optometrists' needs to improve their buying power, but it even transcended buying groups. So, can you give us a sense of how OOGP was built and how it's impacted its optometry customers?
Yeah. It really was not an intention to build a business like what we did. It's a whole idea began with when I was a state president. And so when I finished my tenure, I basically stepped forward and said, I have a few dollars. I think I could do something like this that will help. And that's whole thing was begun. And then we were successful as a buying group. Then a couple years later, the industry was evolving into distribution business, especially soft contact lenses. And we became one of the largest distributor with the warehouses and doing distribution because we embraced the technology of online shopping cart way back in 1986, remind you. And so being able to see what's coming and what need to be done and how it can, and it's another small way of giving back, and it impacted the other states, not just Oregon, but throughout the nation. And it could not have done without having infrastructure and support of my wife, who was a computer literate way back, and she gave up motherhood to become join me in running the financial part of a business of OOGP until my retirement. So that's simply is it. It's there's a lot of people that who actually believing in OOGP and basically support it, and we were some way to give it back to that organization.
And that core need for the independent DCP to get a better buying power was way ahead of doctor alliance groups and other means. And that was really the core value at the beginning for the doctors that wanted to use your service. Do I have that right?
That is correct. That is so correct. And you're right on the money there. It's because of a distribution and the manufacturers of a contact lenses are moving away because sales force and management and shipping costs is prohibitive, and also locally based warehouses can service them, the doctors, quicker without having to purchase a lot of inventory on hand. So we became an inventory to the doctors, and we were able to provide almost 90% of people overnight. And consequently, that helped our patients around the country as well at the same time.
It seems so logical of a business story to tell in the year 2021, but the reality is when you started, it just wasn't the norm. I started practice in '91, and those offerings of groups like OOGP were really important to us to make it through. And what a great early idea you had there.
Well, yeah, thank you. I was always admired of a new business of some kind, and I basically the organization that was starting way back in the distribution, in pharmaceutical distribution, was a McKesson and Cardinals and Brunswick and such. I basically saw that as opportunity and similar to that, and it basically taking that idea. It wasn't my idea, and being involved is a wonderful thing. You meet a lot of people and you find the new ideas, and a lot smarter than I am in many ways. That it's a connection that will allow you to expand your horizon, and not only the professional endeavors, but business endeavors and personal relationship you develop over years at the same time.
Well, the good news is that with all of that hard work and that life of sharing, you've really enjoyed retirement. You love golfing. You were very gracious to my son Blake and me when we did Bandon Dunes together about 10 or more years
Yeah.
ago. You've become engaged in bird watching, and I know you enjoy your family and your grandchildren. So tell the audience that hasn't talked to you in a while, what's it like to be Kenji Hamada in retirement?
Busy.
No surprise.
It's just another different chapter.
Okay.
I didn't really step away. Uh, I was an advisor to president of SLO for a few years. I worked as a volunteer for Optometry Care Foundation as a board of trustees. I continued to work as a consultant, non-paid consultant to my friends in the industry that developing retail Regional Retail Alliance as a professional group. I write articles. I still asked to be advisory board over this and that. And my biggest thing is charity, supporting charity. Yeah, I enjoy golfing. I travel extensively and never imagined that what I have done. But it's. I didn't even know that my brother was one of the key business driver for golf business in Japan. He actually practically single-handed built a company called PM Pacific Golf Management (PGM), which became #1 golf business in Japan until I landed in Japan as a after retirement business. I mean trip. And then my son-in-law, second daughter's husband, so father, who was back then was one of the executive of TaylorMade, who has signed Dustin Johnson, Jason Day, and Adam Scott, and a few others. Okay, and I didn't know connection of it's basically how can you get better than golfing? Okay, number one, you got a good friends that you get to play with, like yourself and your son, who is it was an incredible experience for me as well. And then you meet other people, then beautiful setting, right? If you can play, you could still enjoy the scenery and the company. Can't get better than that. Get away from the office. It's the bad golfing on the beautiful golf course is better than any day in the office.
And you also shared one of your daughters with the profession. She's an optometrist, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's very successful.
She has done well, and she has been involved with the organized profession from day one, even in school. And I did too, also, and I'm proud of her and to join in the rank of optimist position as she is. And she actually practiced 10, 12 years in Hawaii before she was hired away to J&J for global research director, then Luxottica as OD development. And now she's a consultant to a company called Asanitas Advisory. And she has been involved with a national organization, AOA, as well as a volunteer. So I'm proud of her. And my two other kids, school teacher, second husband is school teacher. They are wonderful teachers. And my son, he remained with the company, but he was a good football player in the high school level in the States, and continued to be a good father and working for the company and as a VP of logistics.
And those grandkids, they keep you busy?
Oh, well, you know what? Yes, they actually can keep themselves busy. My wife is get a lot of credit for babysitting and mentoring those kids. I go out there and I spend a couple hours and I'm tired already. And so, yes, I really enjoy them. And I think they're going to be a great people.
And hopefully, I've saved the best for last. You're a man of many sayings. You started with one of your mom's sayings at the beginning of our story. I want to share a couple with the audience and have you react. The first is a quote of Helen Keller that says, "Alone we can do so little; together we can do so much." What does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's exactly that. It doesn't matter whether it's a practice. You have to have a teamwork. You can only do so little, but you need to delegate. And it's basically giving the best care as possible to the patients is a teamwork from beginning to end. It doesn't end just because of I see the patient, and it doesn't end after I see the patient because they may go optician. They have to have a follow-up appointments, etc. So that's one, and the one scenario. And second scenario is our profession and association, whether it's a state level, or a local, or a national level. We are limited by membership of, the finite license of optometrists around the nation, which is a lot smaller in the profession as compared to medical profession. But we have done very well because of teamwork and such. I think everything is a teamwork. It's just like building the good football, basketball team. It's not the superstar, but you got to have a teamwork. Yeah. I was fortunate to be at UCLA when Coach Wooden was there, and we enjoyed. But it's basically we had one superstar, Lou Alcindor, Kareem, but they had a great team. And a great team, best team that I have enjoyed is a no-name team won the national NCAA championship, the first one for UCLA. Yeah, it was a teamwork.
Yeah. And the other phrase that I've heard you use, and you've written it down, so I'm going to share it, is don't forget that America is still the land of opportunity, and therefore you can make anything happen if you just put your mind to it. How about giving the audience some thoughts about how important it's been for you to live this very global life and do what you've been able to do here?
I have a personal experience coming from Japan and going back and traveling worldwide. No matter what people says, and that you have opportunity to step up and become something special in your life, future life. There is a very limited public school provision in Japan that the compulsory education is 9 years, not 12 years such as what we do have here. Okay, and so looking at standard of living, healthcare, it doesn't matter. And the cars that we do have, we enjoy, and cost of living as well as the cost of gas. Japan is 1 gallon of gas is $6. Here, it still is less than $3. And so, and standard of living is so much higher, and we are able to. And educational system allow you to excel and evolve into something special and make yourself alive any time. And I really do believe education is a key emphasis, and the future is among our kids, even still today, giving the opportunity. This non-verbal Japanese who came as a 13-year-old can evolve into where I am today. You have a much better opportunity to succeed than I would have.
And but what makes your story so tremendous, all of these stories, is that you took the initiative. And that, my friend, is what so many people appreciate about what you've done, not only for optometry, but for the people that are around you. So on behalf of all of them, thank you for your contributions. Any last thoughts for the audience?
Well, I think I already said what I already said. Optometry is a wonderful profession, and now it's a streamlining of healthcare. And in my opinion, we have a future in the healthcare system much brighter than where I was and where we are today. And so keep up your good work, and I think you'll, what I call return on investment will be much better, and you have a healthy life and a healthy future for future professionals among our chosen profession of optometry. And I think that you just need to embrace and involve and evolve.
Thank you, Dr. Kenji Hamada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jans. Have a good day.
And to the audience, thank you, Kenji. And to the audience, thanks for listening to this awesome Sandbox story. Until my next Sandbox story, be great at all you do.
Thank you.